and Natalie and I would actually make road trips up from Southern California to Hopland to go to their anniversary parties. And I remember one year trying to, and they had a silent auction. I remember one year putting a bid on a New Albion wooden box, much like the one on that corner of the above the point sign. And I think there's one up here now, right above me as well.
Yep.
And we got outbid. And lo and behold, I would have never thought that Natalie and I would own the original New Albion sign, that's definitely brought our friendship together between Natalie and myself and Jack. Along the way, you know, I learned what New Albion meant to our industry. It's rare at Russian River Brewery that we break the normal day up for our regulars that are here. You know, we don't normally do things like this. But to have the opportunity to raise a glass and honor a pioneer in our industry, Jack McAuliffe, is priceless for us. And Natalie and I are just thrilled to be able to be here, host all of you, and have Jim Cook, a dear friend of ours. It's his first time at our brewery, so we're thrilled.
Nice.
There are very few people in the craft beer industry that have opened up the doors to the access of market like Jim has and his crew at Boston Beer. So we're honored to have Jim here as well. Before we get into a little question and answer session here, I thought I'd talk about how we ended up with the sign and what New Albion means to me. For those of you that know me, you know how much I love Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada is near and dear to my heart. Ken Grossman's inspired me like no one else has. And if you've ever had a second with Ken and asked him who inspired him, he would say Fritz Maytag and Jack McAuliffe. And particularly Jack, from the standpoint of that Jack built his brewery from scratch, and Ken was able to do the same thing, being inspired by Jack. For me, you know, I was just inspired to make great beer and to have that can-do attitude, which really is what Jack has and still does have. When we were building the pub, and as most of you know, we started out at the Corbel Champagne Cellars, and when Natalie and I were able to take the brand over from them and carry it on, I knew that we wanted to decorate the pub with old Breweryana pieces. And one day, at the time, Natalie and I lived in Geyserville, and at the time, Tom Daldorf, who's here tonight somewhere in the room from the Celebrator, had dropped off an issue of the Celebrator beer newspaper, but it hadn't been delivered yet to all of the places that sell it. It hadn't been sent out to those that paid for a subscription. And in the back of this particular issue was a guy advertising the sale of the original New Albion sign, along with a box and some empty bottles. And I jumped right on it. I went to San Francisco the next day. Luckily, it just happened to be up the hill from Anchor Brewing, so I stopped in for a fresh Liberty Ale. And I bought what turned out to be the New Albion sign. And the guy that was selling it to me said that he found it in the burn pile at Mendocino Brewing, which just broke my heart. And that's what I thought of the sign for years, even after we hung it. But along the way, Don Barclay, who had worked at New Albion with Jack, had been in the pub. He was brewing at Mendocino, and then he had left Mendocino to go to Napa Smith. I'm not sure if Don's here tonight. And I learned through some of our staff that wasn't actually the truth. And the truth was that this gentleman that I bought the sign from had snuck into Don's garage and stole. Now, I'm pretty sure when you live in Hopland, you don't lock your house. That's just my guess. You blink when you drive through, you'll miss it. And so I kind of was living with this for a couple years. And along the way, a gal by the name of Maureen Ogle wrote a wonderful book called Ambitious Brews. If you want to know it's a great read, it's a great history of brewing in America. This is the book, and she wrote about Jack. And at the release of her book at the Anchor Brewing, I knew Dawn was going to be there, and I introduced myself. We'd never quite met before, and I said, I understand I own your sign. And I reluctantly offered the sign back to him, and he said, in classic Don Barkley, he says, you know what, I would much rather you have it. Your staff knows the story. It tells the story of one of the most important fixtures, people in our industry. And there it still hangs. A couple of years ago, the craft beer conference was in San Francisco. Jack was a speaker at it, and we found out that he was going to be up visiting Sonoma County afterwards. So he came in, climbed the 16-foot ladder with his bum arm, and signed it. So you can see under the W that Jack's signature is there, and that's how the sign came to be. When I designed the pub, I designed the window for the barrel room with that space above, knowing that the new Albion sign would fit there. Gabe, who's here, hung it a little bit low, but that's a little quirky, just like Jack is.